to focus on men. You saw there was a need there, but wouldn't it be more efficient just to keep expanding with more women and more, you know that you're going to get them. They're the low-hanging fruit. Like fruit? What made you go that direction?
So what we've really been focusing on our marketing team is, I like to say, it's making new friends. We need to keep our friends that we have now. We need to continue, of course, to find women. And we did have a kind of a traditional holiday campaign. But what we really dove into, and we wanted to make sure that we're inclusive and speaking to all of our customers. We were finding during those key sales periods, such as Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, holiday, our customer base was 20% men, and we weren't speaking directly to them. And as you know, it's obvious we needed to approach them in a different way. We couldn't go about with the same strategies, the same creative, the same voice, the same tone, because it wasn't going to be authentic. And so for the first time, we were like, we need to do a dedicated campaign that speaks to men in a completely different way than we've ever spoken to our customer.
Well, and obviously then the messaging needs to change up, and how did this, because you can see sometimes when people target men or whatever, and it can be, to their expense sometimes, and those kind of things. So talk about what went into when you were determining, okay, what was the messaging going to be? How did you then come up with, which turns, we'll see in a little bit, but a very, lot of fun?
Well, authenticity was key. And so we were kind of sitting around a room, and Kendra Scott's 96% women. And we were like, I wonder if I'm the best person to think of how to approach this. And we also wanted to make sure, I think a lot of times men get a bad rap when it comes to shopping, like that they're clueless and don't know what to do. And we didn't want to have this like typical, like dude voice and like they were kind of lost. We wanted to really be solution oriented and approach it still with that like kind-heartedness that we have at Kendra Scott, and provide a solution for the customer and make it seem approachable. We, in our retail stores, guys can walk in and they are served a beer right away. So it's like, calm down, relax. Like, and we understand that you come in and everything.
Everyone's heading to Kendra Scott after this.
It's bright and shiny, and jewelry is always, that's something, part of Kendra's passion when she created this brand was it can be a really intimidating experience. You have to ask for pricing. You have to ask for something to be unlocked behind a glass case to try it on. And it wasn't a fun and inviting experience. And so that's something that we personally really strive for. And so we wanted to make sure that with this campaign, we approached men in the same way and made it so like, hey, let us help you. So we were working, we ended up working with an agency, Omaha Productions, which is actually owned by Peyton Manning. And as you can imagine, the majority of the work that they do is sports targeted. So they have a lot of podcasts, and they do a lot of different segmented shows and a lot of like, think just ESPN. And so everyone's kind of like, you're going with them? And I'm like, just trust me. We're going to have this conversation with them. And I was telling them like, okay, we just need to help men find gifts. Like, how do we get them to find gifts? How can we make sure that we're establishing ourselves as the gifting destination? And so the gentleman, his name is Forrest, who's amazing, who I was speaking with at the agency, was like, oh, so this campaign, we really just need guys to buy better gifts. And I was like, what did you just say? And he's like, buy better gifts? And I was like, that's it, like done. Like that is the tagline. This campaign is called the Buy Better Gifts. We call it BBG at the office. And it's like, what's BBG 2.0? What are we doing for BBG Valentine's Day? And I'm like, it's just buy better gifts. Like, let us help you buy a better gift for holiday. And there you have it.
Well, and now we're going to actually let you see Buy a Better Gift. So do we have the, let's see if the clicker goes.
Make sure that I press the right button.
Actually, you'll be able to see it here too.
Other arrow. See, already. Sorry, Ryan.
You're not the only one who's done that.
I just pressed both arrows. Oh, okay.
Hey, babe, are you almost ready? Because we're already late.
Yeah, I'm ready. I want to show you something first.
Show me something.
Close your eyes. You know how there's been this one big thing we were looking to get, but it was never the right time?
The cards.
Open your eyes.
What are we looking at? Where is it?
It's the new garage door opener. Babe, I got it on sale.
then do we have the other?
Hey, babe, are you almost ready? Because we're already late.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do we have the other one as well? Okay.
Open your eyes.
What are we looking at? Where is it?
It's the new garage door opener.
So I heard some laughs, so that was a win.
I love it. There's also the one on the couch with the guy with
yeah.
Did you have that or?
Do I press another? Oh, we don't have that one? Okay.
Oh,
there
never
is
mind.
another. We had two
You'll look out for it.
versions. And the other version was where they're all huddled around the Christmas tree and the family's there, and she's opening what looks like it's going to be an engagement ring, and it's for like a star is named after her, and her face. The women's faces in these are priceless. Like the whole unimpressed. Like I love it. I love it. But
Yeah,
they've
they are.
been
They're
great.
really cute. But I'm curious. So then, when you obviously said you had to change up the messaging, and you're targeting men, it's a little different. What about the mix? Like, did that have to be changed up at all?
Certainly. We, of course, ran this on YouTube and Meta, but we also really focused these two ads on CTV with the strong focus. We're really seeing a growth in the Northeast. So we ran them in the South and the Northeast, but with CTV, we were really able to target those, channels of sports channels for Valentine's Day. It's always so convenient that Super Bowl Sunday and Valentine's Day are right next to each other. So we really focused on those Disney Plus sports channels, ESPN, Fox Sports. So we're really, really able to hone in on kind of like those stereotypical like male-centric channels.
Well, were you, in terms of when you were looking at the budget for the media mix, at this point when you were starting at least that initial holiday campaign, was it more supplemental? Was it on its own? Was it part of the mix?
This was really supplemental, and we also like to say, like we look at, whenever I try to evaluate budget, I really try to do percentages based on what the percentage of the customer is, of our customer base, so around that 20%. But then we did add supplemental, just being that this was a new campaign and the first time we ever did this, so we felt it was really strong to give it a fair shot.
Right. Well, and social. I mean, obviously that's a big play. I mean, just in general, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kendra Scott. They've gone viral with, TikTok, and they're just, you guys have such a social presence.
Yep.
So did that continue even now that you're targeting the male audience?
It did continue, and we even enlisted a gentleman. His name is Kyle Brandt. He hosts a show and a podcast on the NFL Network, and we actually had him kind of be an extension of our Buy Better Gifts campaign, where he hit the streets of New York, and they were hilarious. And he did a series of video vignettes that he posted on his channels, as well as we were able to utilize on ours, where he was interviewing men on the street, asking them, what's the best gift you've ever given, or what's the worst gift you've ever given? And they were hilarious. It's like we couldn't have written it to be better, but just kind of having, again, that real life authenticity, real voices, and just having that like credible source was really, really helpful too.
So what's the verdict? Are we going to still be targeting
BBG
men?
is going to live on. We will continue. We saw a 35% lift in web traffic this holiday versus last, which I like to attribute to driving more men. We saw an over 13% increase in brand awareness with men ages 18 to 44. It was incredible. We saw people, it's always great when people actually see your work and then they send you notes like, oh, I saw the commercial. We just had a ton of fun with it, and I think that this is just the beginning of realizing what you can do when you really open your eyes and you speak to your whole audience in different ways.
Well, and so talk about that in terms of now, obviously, you're going to be doing Buy a Better Gift. So I'm assuming it's going to be more than supplemental. Is it still going to be a separate thing? Okay, this is, what our media mix is, and then this is for Buy a Better Gift, or is it now going to be all one? And how much are we waiting for the holidays again, or now there's a bunch of other times?
We just did kind of 2.0 with Valentine's Day. I think we will wait again for the holidays. I would love to see us. We're an experiential brand. I would love if we could kind of bring an experience. I mean, I'm putting it out there in the universe, but like a Buy Better Gifts shop, like where it's just very, very like men's focused, comfortable, like almost designed to look like this room. but with Kendra Scott jewelry and kind of having like a pop-up experience for the holidays that was, maybe open in November through February. That's kind of my dream. Or having like a Buy Better Gifts collection that's really focusing on those must-haves, or kind of like how we spoke about pieces that are really versatile so that they can be, every woman would love them, and they just kind of a surefire way to, knock it out of the park.
Did your KPIs change at all with this in terms of what you were looking for, or was it still that brand awareness?
It was really brand awareness is what we focused on, which as a marketer is a dream come true.
Are you able to, or is this something you hope to do to be able to track it back, or to really, see where it does lead to conversions, or, more so than just the brand awareness?
For sure. And I think that that's kind of like, as we look at this next stage and what 2023 looks like, I think that's when we really will begin to dive into the metrics and understand the lift and where it's coming from. And if, in fact, I mentioned how the Northeast, we feel that that's kind of our fastest growing market. Like, is the Northeast like responding to this type of humor more than maybe in the South? Or, and kind of understanding is the products that we're showing in these actual, pieces, are those the pieces that are actually selling, or are people just going and getting whatever's on the homepage? So I think that we can really dive into a ton of information here, but this was really just our first try at it, and we're really, really excited to get our hands dirty and keep going.
Yeah, no, and but in terms of, okay, the channels that you said it's more sports channels, or is that going to stay the same? Like, what did you learn from all this? Are there things that maybe you did, maybe you want to dive into a little bit more, or things that maybe weren't the right way to go? And talk about that and how, in terms of moving forward.
I think that we should definitely continue with the sports channels. I think that we could go even broader. I would love to explore with a CTV and a linear mix. I think that having that linear local connection is going to be really important, especially for our brand and how closely tied to our communities we are. I think that that would resonate well. And I'd also like to explore, we saw when we posted these videos on our own Instagram channels, we saw a ton of women responding, and like everyone, it's funny. And I think that it's a reminder to not take yourself so seriously. And I think in the jewelry space, especially around the holidays, everything is so serious and sentimental, and if we could bring some lighthearted humor and everybody enjoys it. So I would love to see us expand and get this out in bigger ways. How do we translate this to maybe like outdoor, and how do we continue to get more and more customers? And like, do we partner? We have so many sports partnerships. We have a partnership with the huge partnership with the Dallas Cowboys, the Houston Astros, University of Texas here, University of Alabama. So how can we integrate those partnerships and actually amplify this and have them tell this story for us to their fans? So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to expand and reach more eyes.
Well, and also because, talking about partnerships, and even just, you're so big, Kendra Scott is so, the community is so important to you guys, and it always has been from the very beginning. And are you able to then, is that part of it as well? Maybe you can then also incorporate the partnerships there and do more in what you always try to stand for, which is that pillar of the community.
Yep, certainly. And I think getting our customers involved, getting the men involved. I don't know like what that kind of UGC looks like, but I think that there's a lot of different ways that we can tap into the communities and have them kind of represent our Buy Better Gifts, and how can they help other men buy better gifts, and like how do we kind of create that chain reaction?
Well, I'm going to let everyone ask questions, but I want to first ask just, what is the most valuable lesson out of this? Like, what did you really, when you think about it, maybe surprised you, or whatever it may be, and you're just like, wow, I didn't expect this, or something that you learned that, okay, this is how we need to keep going and doing this?
To have fun, that if we laugh, that our customers are gonna laugh. And at the end of the day, like, if we're not doing something that we don't love, then that's gonna show through. We were so proud of this campaign and so proud of stepping out, and it says a lot about our leadership too, to kind of like take a risk, try something new, and it's scary. Why do you take a risk during your most like crucial and critical time of the year? And so having that confidence to be able just to be like, hey, let's give it a shot. What's it going to do? And the fact that it worked and that it resonated with customers was a hit. And so I think just remembering that true, authentic, humor and values shows through everything.
Well, I know I said only one more, but
Okay.
actually, because it did come up in one of our panels about having that percentage of your budget where you are willing to take a risk, and that's important to do because otherwise it's always status quo. I mean, is that something? I mean, you just talked about willing to take a risk, but do you guys actually have sort of that maybe 5% or whatever amount where you're sort of going to say, okay, let's see where this will go? Is that something that's built into your plan?
We're not that calculated. I think that everything we do is a bit of a risk, and that's what makes us, and that's what makes us like genuine. And when we're experiential, I think that we try to grow and try new things constantly. So I think that if we're kind of saying, okay, we're going to do what we always did, but we are going to only leave 5% to try new things, it wouldn't be the way that our brand operates. We're always trying to change it up.
Well, that's good too. Can't complain for that. Do you have any questions out here?
I have like 2 questions. So are you thinking about esports? Because a lot of women and men play esports. So I was wondering if you're looking into esports at all.
We are. I think that there's like a whole new world that's happening out there that we really need to tap into. So that's definitely on our mind.
Great. And now that you targeted like men, are you also looking into other segments like I don't know, like people buying gifts for their mom or dad or whoever? Like are you looking into any other like segments that aren't necessarily your target and aren't men?
Gen Z.
Great.
There are women who are Gen Z, but
Yeah. Well,
and men, I think.
well, so that actually brings up a good point. We, about a year and a half ago, launched Scott Brothers, which is our men's line. And I think that looking at trends and just looking around the world, unisex is going to be a huge, huge movement in fashion. It already is. Like, women wearing menswear is like what's in right now. And so I think that the way that we speak to that consumer is going to be really, really important. And so when I say Gen Z, it is, the young, the high schooler, the middle schooler who's, we want her to get the Elisa necklace, have an amazing experience, and then grow with us. That's a dream. But also, how can we get that teenage boy? How can we get everyone and anyone to come into our store and wear anything? Like if a boy comes in and wants to buy a necklace to wear, then that's great. He can do that. And we want to make sure that we're a brand that represents that, as well as if a girl comes in and she wants to buy a piece from our Scott Brothers line, which all the women at the office wear Scott Brothers. They have the best chains and layering necklaces, and everyone's like, what necklace is that? Oh, it's the new Scott Brothers. So we're already wearing the Scott Brothers, but how can we market that both ways? So I think Gen Z is going to be very, very important moving forward.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Oh, over there, Barbie.
Okay. Sorry, who had their hand up?
Hi, I'm Erica with GMMB. So I know a couple years ago, all over TikTok was Bama Rush, and it was a big phenomenon, and Kendra Scott was called out a lot. How were you able to capitalize on all of that organic traffic on TikTok from people I haven't been in college in a while, and I was watching Bama Rush stuff. So were you all able to take all of that organic mentions and capitalize on it for not only the Gen Z audience, but for other audiences that were also watching it?
Oh, yes. I love talking about Bama Rush. So I have to preface it. We had never, obviously didn't have our finger on the pulse of what Bama Rush was either. Be completely transparent. And our new our social media, content manager, it was his first week started. And he texted us, and it was 10 o'clock at night. And he was like, hey, have y'all been on TikTok? Have you seen what's happening? And I was like, no, what's going on? And he was like, do you mind if I kind of create a TikTok responding to these people? And I was like, sure. I have no idea what Bama Rush was. And the next day was over 1 million views. And I was like, okay, we need to regroup quick. What is happening? And we were able, first of all, we got Kendra to respond to these young women who were pledging. And so she started getting on TikTok and like talking back to them. So there was that. We then switched our homepage very quickly. We created a recruitment kind of like back to school banner, merchandised page. We created store signage very quick. Like when I talk about pivot, we pivot quickly. And that's kind of the beauty too of like we have a very entrepreneurial spirit. We don't have to go through a chain of approvals. It was like, let's go now. We also then started gifting these young women who were mentioning us, and we started paying attention even down to like things that they were wearing. If we saw a woman was really into hoops, or if a girl's sorority was purple, we started sending her purple stuff. So the conversations continued, and we actually added them to a whole, like we have an ongoing influencer list, but we added them to our influencers and just started continuing to engage them. And then we also started getting them, like I said, getting them involved in our communities. So we would reach out. We have local marketing managers, and in these areas, especially in Alabama, we're saying, hey, how can you host a fundraising event in our stores? As you know, philanthropy is a huge part of what they do, of what we do. So how could we make friends with them and like meet them face to face? And so Kendra was sending private videos. She even went to Alabama and surprised a Zeta meeting. Like we leaned in very, very hard and organically. And I would say it's the art of the pivot. Like we moved fast because we knew the pieces that they were wearing. We got those pieces on our homepage, front and center at our stores. We were pushing them on social. We were like, everything else has to pause. It is Bama Rush for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And so we just ran with it.
And you guys had a hashtag, you created a hashtag too that really, it went viral. It was like immediately when everyone was just using it.
And even year after year, even last year, as it was like gearing up, we like our social media team really played into it on TikTok, and we started seeing a ton. I think the key for us for this coming up year is going to be how can we make sure that we are, sororities sometimes don't, when you think of sorority, you don't think of inclusivity. So we want to make sure that how can we speak to it in an inclusive way. And Bama Rush is forever our best friend, and I think it's fantastic. But I want to make sure that as it's 2023, I want to make sure that we're speaking to it in a modern way and that we're being smart about it and thoughtful of everyone.
I'm sure you always get asked, how can you create a viral video,
Oh my gosh, all the time. Like, hey, if we could just create a viral video off of this, and I'm like, okay. It wouldn't work like that.
You can't plan it.
It has to be a perfect storm of a lot of things. So.
Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Erlins with Carlberg. I was wondering if you could talk about your partnership with Tiff's Treats and how successful that's been.
It's been fantastic. Tiff's is a great partner of ours. It's considered a wholesale account. And so we've created a couple of exclusive pieces for Tiff's, and they sell it through their website. Tiff's, again, partnering with like-minded brands. They're very, very focused on nurses and teachers, which is a huge audience of ours as well, and a give back. So they've been, being an Austin brand, very entrepreneurial. They're in that really, really exciting time where they're just kind of bursting at the seams and popping up everywhere. They love to deliver a fun experience as well. But that started very organically here between Kendra and Tiff and Leon, and then it's kind of grown into that of hey, what if we created a specific piece? I know we named a piece after Tiff's grandmother, and it's sold with her grandmother's cookie recipe. And so again, it's like whatever we can do to work together to drive that emotional connection. But they're really, really fantastic partners of ours.
Any more questions? Whoop.
Can I do the what is it called? The beauty bar? What is it called?
Color bar?
The color bar. That's. I was gonna forget it. When you have to stumble, the joke doesn't work. Just go, Julie.
Hi, my name is Julia Wizio, and I'm with EA. And I wanted to quickly ask, how long did it take you guys from ideation to execution for that holiday piece that you guys did?
Oh, we were quick on this one, which was kind of the beauty. We didn't have time to overthink it. I would say we delivered these assets in November. We started airing these in November. And I would say we probably started them in like July. Yeah, we were quick. It was fast.
And did you guys do it in how, like, did you have the creative agency, like, helping you with production and
We
kind of
did,
managing that side?
thankfully. Yep.
Got
So
it.
we have a fantastic creative services team who, we handle all of our photo shoots. But doing a video like this and writing scripts and hiring the actors and the set locations, so Omaha did all of that for us. So they're fantastic to work with. If anybody needs someone, a creative agency out of the box, they've got it, and they have an incredible talent roster. But they handled a lot of this. It was filmed in Los Angeles. We were on set. They held our hands throughout the entire way. But yeah, it was fast.
Love it. Love it.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Amy. You were awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.